Hey folks, it's Matt Hill back for another Q&A with Helen Ponton. Coming to you live here on this Wednesday. I'm going to try to start with a couple questions that I had last time I did not get a chance to get to, and hopefully folks who had these questions will either see them or get a chance to look them up when we publish this video on YouTube. So first one was, my claim for anxiety, depression, and PTSD has been sitting at the Veterans Board of Appeals. I started the claim back in 2016. Is it true that I can't start any new claims until it is decided in 2 or 3 years? I'm rated 10% for coronary artery disease. I just filed another claim for tinnitus and PTSD. Should I have my wife write a buddy letter to bolster my PTSD claim? So this is, good afternoon, LeBanks. This, as far as when you have multiple claims at different areas, so when you have a claim for mental health disorder at the board, you can't file a new claim. You can file it, but they're basically going to reject it or send it up. If you have new evidence to submit, then by all means submit that to get your claim going through. But if you have, the same claim up here and you want to refile because, as you've stated, it's taking forever to get a BVA claim through, then I would go with that. If you have a new claim, so let's say again you have that PTSD claim up at the board and you want to file for tinnitus, well, you can file the tinnitus claim whenever you want because it's a different claim. Now they're going to be on different tracks, but don't not file that claim if that's one you think you're that's meritorious if you have it, and go from there. Okay, let's see. 83 Devil Dog. Hi, sir. How are you? I currently have a claim of appeal an appeal claim for PTSD. I'm currently 70% for PTSD. I hope to get the appeal decision. I hope you do as well. You definitely want to appeal that if you feel like you should be higher. Sometimes the regional office in particular does not do that. You should also consider unemployability if you are only working part-time or not working at all due to the PTSD, or in part due to the PTSD, because that will get you to 100% a lot easier than a straight 100% for mental health rating, because mental health ratings is pretty tricky. What are the wait times for the evidence submission docket? Lauren G. This, just spoke to this a little earlier with someone else. The wait time is getting longer and longer as the days go by. The BVA had no idea they were going to see the volume that they're seeing as far as number of cases that are being put up to the board. So, I mean, if you're lucky, I've seen some in a year. I'm starting to see 18 months to 3 years again, just like it was in the old system. So unfortunately, it's getting longer and longer. Alfred, do I have to take medication for mental health? I'm 100% P&T, too many side effects. That's something you need to talk to your doc about. I mean, that's, if you're 100% already, that's great. You don't need to focus on your benefits. What you need to focus on is mentally and medically being in the best shape as you can be. So I would, I'd talk to the doc. All right, so JT, he can get advanced on the court dockets due to serious heart issues. That is true if you can get a doc to say that you have serious heart issues, or there's terminal issue there. Same thing goes for financial if you're in dire straits, but you've got to have some kind of documentation. Scott Main, when will we go to hearing video? You're representing me. Hopefully we won't go to hearing video. What we like to do a lot of times is we do one of two things. We go to the higher level review claim, where there can be a review that includes a telephone review, interview, or a Zoom kind of interview, or the board. With the board, what we like to do is make sure we have all our evidence, and then we cancel that claim because we found that it's just not worth it anymore going to a hearing for the wait, especially if we get a solid outside opinion. We've also found with the hearing level review is HLR, hearing level review, is a brand new thing in the last couple of years, and we've been experimenting with it. The success rate we're seeing from our data over the last couple of years is showing that it's not as effective as we'd like it to be. We can't put in new evidence, and they just want to kind of check a box and be done with it. And so they're denying overall, what was it, just over 90%. So for us, we're looking at now trying to get out of those because we want the cases to move more quickly. Okay. Sav Fam, my friend was provided CMP and denied service connection, filed HLR, and they said DTA, which is duty to assist, due to them not providing an exam or opinion. This is false since he had a CMP exam. Well, if the CMP exam was negative, then he wants a new one. You're reading these rating decisions they give you, and they're very, very poorly worded, and they frankly don't make sense a lot of times. So it could be that the reasoning in the CMP exam was not as adequate, but that's kind of a that's a guess on my part. Richard Lee, I'm already a client waiting for decision on Tdiu. I'm 70% now, praying for approval. Richard Lee, well, we're going to do more than pray. If we get how we operate here is we get a denial, we keep on going. If we have to go to Washington, go to Washington. If we have to go to the Court of Appeals Veterans Claims, then we go there. But yeah, I'm glad to have you here, Richard. Antonio Figuera, I've been declined for my back condition, sleep apnea. What should I do? You should appeal it if you have evidence that's strong. You feel stronger than the VAs. You want to see their CMP exam, see what they say. But if you have strong evidence, then you can appeal it on a no evidence lane, meaning you're not putting additional evidence in. If you feel like you need to get more evidence, then you either need to go to the board evidence lane or file a supplemental claim with evidence. All right, Timothy Certain, do I need a doctor in Nexus for Tdiu if I'm 90%? I mean, Timothy, I'd submit your claim, see what the VA says, see if they should send you to CMP exam. Hopefully that gets you what you need. If it doesn't, then I would consider an outside doctor or what's called a vocational expert, somebody who can look at your past work and your what you currently could do in light of your disabilities. Okay, Chombi, I can't even say that last name. Hi, I was awarded SSDI in 2019. When should I expect review? We're not really doing. Well, actually, the firm stopped doing Social Security a month ago, so I can't really tell you. It depends on your age, depends on your disability, it depends on that certain Social Security office. Frankly, if they're backed up, they don't do review exams. If they're not backed up, they start doing them. JC 1235, how to best protect sleep apnea 50% rating. I use machine issued by civilian doc. VA does not have my machine info. I just get supplies from them. If you have a script from your doctor, I would send that in. But I mean, the fact that you're using it, they can't really refute that if you have one, they're using it. But if you do have a script, I'd send it into the VA. Will the DBQ that is signed by my VA doc saying I'm totally and solely disabled help? Yes, that should help a lot. Chris Bonds, rated 10% for tinnitus, bilateral hearing at 90%, 89% overall. Sleep apnea denied by high level review a few months back. Can it be secondary supplemental now to tinnitus or secondary supplemental to tinnitus? I think we're looking at the same thing. I would, it's tough. I've not seen it be related to tinnitus. You're going to need to get an opinion from your audiologist or your doctor saying that it is. But let's do the math here. If you're 89%, the way the VA says this, they say, okay, well, you're 11% healthy. So that means if you get the 50% for OSA, for sleep apnea, let me do the math, that would be 50% of 11%, which would be another 4.5%, 5%. So yeah, you would get to 100% on that. So I would fight that. Hopefully you get your full rating there. All right, Leo Rodriguez, I'm working and have made over 30K to date. Will I qualify for Tdiu? Depends on the kind of work, Leo. If you're just in an open job, meaning you got the job yourself, didn't have any help, it's just a competitive open job market, the answer is you cannot get it. If you're in a job that is sheltered, working for family, working for friends, working somewhere where they're giving you breaks. And I mean, this is a big category. I've got vets who work at the VA, and we've gotten them Tdiu because they had so much leniency in their job. They still worked full time. They still made over, those guys make like over $50,000 usually. But the fact that they had all these leniencies allowed us to say that it was a sheltered employment. So just got to look at what kind of employment it is. John Gold, hope HMP had a great 4th of July. Thanks for these live sessions. Thank you, John. We did. Everybody returned safe and sound is my most important thing. Thank you, JT, for that. We love helping vets. Serge Mosh, can I still be qualified for VA benefits for PFD if I get laser treatment? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not familiar with that reg. Some things say medicine and enhancements can reduce the rating. Others say you have to consider it without the surgery or the enhancement. So I don't know. Let's see. We had looks like one I missed. Was accepted for IU. Have one big question. When it says you have worked your work is only W-2 work under another employer, I have some gunmanship and bladesmithing. So if I earn, say, $15,000 for that 1 year, 100% of the money coming through me to the VA, PayPal, or something like that, does that go with it? This is convoluted, and frankly, I did a very poor job of reading it. But if you are working for yourself, the answer is that in and of itself is usually sheltered employment, meaning like you work on your own time, you do your own thing, you don't have a boss to whom you have to report, you don't have to, maybe you have employees, but you don't have to have that. So sheltered employment, again, is where you carve out things that you can do that nobody else in the company's doing, meaning like if you have PTSD, you're like, God, I can't be around people, I got to get the heck out of here. That's sheltered employment. So if you're working for yourself, I would not count that. If you're working for somebody else, it does get a little more complicated. Any news on the 3M lawsuit? Law Dog 01. They have done a couple test trials, meaning the law firms that have them kind of looked at certain cases that they thought were strongest, and they've won. They won multi-million-dollar verdicts, so that's good news. Bad news is 3M has appealed those, and they said that they're going to fight every single case. So until those first couple cases get paid, it's going to be, well, I mean, they lose on appeal or whatever. So that's good. It's a good first start that that 2 or 3, I think, different verdicts came down from different juries saying that those earplugs cause hearing loss, but it's still going to be a while. Okay, Chris Bonds, used your calculator, need 40% to reach 100. It's a doozy once you get up close to 100 as far as the bigger the numbers to get. Sunhawk 61, I was recently diagnosed with radiculopathy in my cervical spine. I already have had surgery consult 2 weeks ago. I have an appointment with the surgeon to finalize surgery in August. Just reading to see if there's a question here. I would go ahead, I don't know if there's a question, but I would go ahead and file, if that's service connected, I would file a increase rating now. If it isn't service connected, it sounds like it's extremely severe, and I would make sure you could try to find a way to get it service connected, showing what happened in service. Lucas, 100% P&T. Can I have my 100% P&T overturned if I go to college with disability from PTSD? They can do anything they want. If you're P&T, they should not. If you go through VOC Rehab is going to do an assessment on you on whether you can go back to work. So, that's just something to be cautious with. If you don't want to be, I don't know, because it's 100% for PTSD, and one of the big things about PTSD is how you interact with others. So that's a tough question. If you have an idea of what you want to do and you feel like you can do it, I'd go to college. I mean, 100% disability is great for the money, but if you can do something with your life that you find value in, I'd take that every day of the week. But they could review you. Christopher Cannon, my examiner at CMP for knees did not perform range of motion test. This is common. Yeah, and if you don't get the rating you should, you need to look at that CMP exam, meaning you order it from the VA through FOIA or privacy of information request. And you need to look and see if they said they did one, because if they said they did one, then you need to go back and write a statement saying this was never done on me. And you need to look and see what else they said, because a lot of times these folks are taking shortcuts. Lucas, thanks for your live. Glad to be here, Lucas. Richard Lee, can I do a P&T driving job or hold off till my decision? Thank you, part-time driving job. I would, you got to do what's best for you. If you can work, and again, if that's something possible, I would try it. If it ends up you're able to work, you're able to do it full time, and you don't need whatever the IU, then that's great. But if you try and you do it and it ends up you fail, well, that's actually really good evidence for your claim. So I would say to try it. Okay, are 1099 contractors automatically denied IU? No. Again, it depends on the type of work you're doing. Leo, what is the most that I can make per year and still qualify for Tdiu? Again, Leo, it depends. I've seen people make $200,000, but it was working for their family's trucking business, which was a statewide trucking business, and the guy really wasn't doing anything. So, if you are working full time in a competitive position, it's the poverty line for one person, which is $12,000 to $13,000 right now. Lebrone 89, good afternoon. What is the rule when two different doctors give two different ratings, one 50, the other 70, for the same issue? SSD is the injury. They're supposed to take the higher rating, the VA is. It's the tie goes to the winner. They might not do that. If one is more compelling, meaning that one doctor was more specific than the other, then they can go with that. If you feel like they did the wrong one, you clearly need to appeal and say, this is why the other doctor was correct. Makamili, only rated 3% for PTSD, overall 60%. Want to appeal decision. Would I have to go through another CMP if I appeal decision, and how can your firm help? I think you don't necessarily have to go through another appeal. It's more, you don't necessarily have to go through another appeal, but the VA has the right to put you through an appeal. Excuse me, I'm saying appeal, I mean CMP exam. So if they want you to go through another CMP exam and you don't go, it's an automatic denial on your increase. So you got to weigh that out, because I know that those exams are not fun. Those doctors, and they're not even doctors anymore, they're medical examiners, are not the most compassionate. So you just kind of got to figure out what you want to do there. Getting an outside medical exam is what we would do, but even that doesn't guarantee that they won't get another exam. So Carlos Moldley, 100% service connected for PTSD and TBI, was awarded SMCL. Do I qualify for SMCT? That's a big question, Carlos. That's a trickier question, because I don't know the facts of your case. That is definitely something you want to pursue. For those watching, I don't know what SMCL pays. It's something like $3,600 a month or something. SMCT is probably closer to $9,000 a month right now. So I would dig into the facts of your case, meaning like what, do you have somebody who's daily treating you? Do you have somebody who is, helping you with medicine, helping you get around the house? You got to differentiate what's the SMCL, meaning the aid and attendance you have now, versus like, if you didn't have that person, what other things would you need help on? But I would definitely file for SMCT either way, because the significance is so much more severe. The benefits are so much better. Patriot Pirate, I started an intent to file 7 or 8 months later, filed with VSO and told him that I had intent to file, and he didn't use it. When I noticed, I asked about it, and he said VA would fix it, but did not. I don't know what to tell you on that. If there's issues that they didn't put on there, then I would put those on there. I would go back to your intent to file and say, look, these are other issues that should have been put on there. I can't unfortunately give you more info on that, or I just don't know more to say. AB, my initial rating, 90%, got out in May 2021, and I haven't received a rating yet. Should I wait for my final rating decision, or can I submit paperwork to increase my claim? You can always submit paperwork to increase your claim, and then they should pay you at the same time whatever they owed you. So don't let that be a bother. And they won't pay you for May, June. They won't pay you till July, and I don't know if it's beginning or in July. So that's why you probably haven't seen the money yet. What are some secondaries to tinnitus? Also received 0% for hypertension a couple months back. Should I appeal that to get a higher rating? Chris, you need to look at the diagnostic code. Efrain, if you could throw that up here. I might have it. Oh, actually, I'm going to screw up if I look at that. You need to look and see what the hypertension, because it's like you have to have a certain, certain numbers there. And then what I can't remember is if you have medication that helps it, if that would reduce what you would get as far as an award. As far as secondary issues for tinnitus, I don't know. I mean, I don't know of many at all. One that I do know of is depression, something called hyperacusis, which is a depression basically because a person just hears the ringing and it gets louder and louder when others are around, and then that person self-isolates. VA doesn't understand that case. They screwed up all the time, but that's the only one that I know of. James H. Hill, excuse me, James L. Hill Sr. How do you link a disability to service without any treatment records? You can look at service treatment records. Excuse me, you can look at, well, I don't know what you're talking about, without any treatment records. If you're talking about current treatment records, that is a lot more problematic. If you're talking about records in service, the main thing would be to look at buddy statements. Anybody who knew you could testify what happened to you, what was going on with you in service. Sometimes you can look at just service records themselves, and they'll show transfers, where you transferred to a hospital, something like that. John Price, have you seen a new bill from Senator Bob Menendez on Gulf War illness? Will it pass? Any thoughts? Thank you for this info. Is amazing. John, I actually have not. Ironically enough, we've been putting together a series on Gulf War that we're just finishing up. So I have not seen that. We've been kind of nose to the grindstone on the regulation and some of the other research. But I don't know. There are quite a few vet-friendly bills that are in the works right now. Unfortunately, the more there are, the more jaundice of an eye they get in Congress, because they're going to say, oh, we're spending all this money. The Office of Budget and Management will come back and say this is going to cost X billion or sometimes $1 trillion. So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm worried. That would be my concern. Rod M, I recently achieved 90%. How difficult would it be to get to 100%? So let's say your actual rating is 90%, not 89 like the gentleman we looked at before. You have to get your next rating has to be 50%. Okay, so if you can get one of those, go for it. If you're not working and it's due in total or in part to your service-connected disabilities, file for unemployability. That is a whole lot easier than getting up to 100% once you're that close. Patriot Pirate, oh boy. Then he said I would have to take chance to lose my rating of 100% if I wanted 7 or 8 months of back pay. Okay, is this the VSO? Yeah, that's a crock of crap. No, you appeal, you fire him, you get another VSO. I mean, the problem with VSOs is there's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of lazy ones. And so this guy looks like lazy fearmonger to me. If you're on here, lazy fearmonger, sorry. But I would, if you're looking at 7 or 8 months at 100% in back pay, that's not chump change. So I would look to hire a different one. You want to interview them, make sure they know what it sounds like they're talking about, and go from there. Alonzo, rate 30% for migraines, applied because of frequency from 2 to 3 a month to 2 to 3 per week. ER, PCP, and neuro documentation to reflect, but CMP examiner reported that I got better, so my 30% was reduced to 0. What do I do? You appeal it, and you say that this reduction did not consider the everyday aspects of my life, did not consider how this affected me, and you say this should not stand. And you also need to talk about how often the words they use are prostrating migraines, meaning migraines that they get so bad that you actually have to go lay down. So you need to talk about how often the migraines are so bad that they actually make you lay down. Okay, JT, the COLA for 2022 is looking like 5.5% now, 5.7%. Wow. And they say there's no inflation, but man, that's great. Holy moly, they're already releasing that. I didn't see that yet. Carolina Deuce, wife is in the service right now and having to go outside provider to get seen. Can we use those medical notes? Yes, you can use anything and everything that happens during service. Doesn't matter if it happens, inside of the base or whatever. It just happens during service. Archangel Bright Flame. I have qualified for a VA pension, but they only want to give me $10 a month. 66-year-old vet during wartime. I give them a senior 1040, which would qualify me for $400 a month. But let's see if I can find the rest of yours down here. Shoot, sir, I don't know if you wrote more, but I don't see it. The pension is based on what other income and assets you have, so they're gonna offset it because of that. Louis C. If the VA denied my back in 2011, but just found out 1972 info, zeroed me, but missed the 1970 issues, is this Q? Let me think about that. If you currently have that claim on appeal, you don't want to do Q. Q means you don't get to put in new evidence. Q means you have to use the law as it was written back then. If you currently have this 2000, oh man, I don't know, 2011, I think it might be Q. I think you might have to do that. I think you might have to say that they found these new records, and I would do a Q for 2011 saying that it should go all the way back because they found these new records from 72 and they didn't use them. 2020, I have 70% combined, but disability is developing and I'm suffering from complications which seem to connect to other disabilities I have. How and what should I do first to get to 100% scheduler? Well, if you have complications or secondary issues is what you're saying, other disabilities, you need to file those and say that these are related to, you know, whichever service-connected disabilities you think they are. And hopefully that gets you, bridges the gap and gets you up to that 100%. Defender 1, granted one claim and then other deferred. 7 months later was granted the disability. Does retro go back to the original filing date? Our original filing date is now a muddy term. So when you filed this claim that got you the two issues, first grant and then the second grant, whatever date you filed that claim, the rule is it should go back to then. So let's say you filed, you went up, you filed, you got a rating decision, you were denied, you filed new and material evidence to supplemental claim. Well, it still should go back to this first claim. But the original claim, you know, that could be something you applied 20 years ago. So not likely that it would go back to that. Adium Antanes, I'm 90%, have multiple secondary issues coming from rated issue. How and what can I do to get to 100%? Again, if you really are straight 90, you got to bridge that gap. You got to get at least a combo of another 50% to get you up there. Or if you're not working, unemployability. I feel like I keep beating that drum, so I won't go into that too much. Want to try it 72, currently rated at 90%. I'm trying to get 100%, but don't know secondary if I can file. I can file to help me out. Do you assist and have doctors diagnose before claims? We don't represent vets who haven't filed before. The VA is supposed to, well, not only supposed to, but they should, they will get an exam. And frankly, there's no need to do that. So even if you were to get an outside doc to get you an opinion before you filed, the VA would look at it and say, oh, that's quaint, that's nice. We're going to get our CMP anyway. So we always, you know, if we're ever in a situation where we're filing another claim for a veteran, we file the claim, see what the VA does, and then from there decide if we're going to get an outside exam. Because one, they're going to ignore ours up front, and two, we want to have the last word. All right. Rod M, I was at 40% in 06, and as of 21 at 90%, applied for TDIU in 06. I was told I'd have to appeal the 06 TDIU. Can I retro from 06? Short answer to that is no. The long answer to that is you got to look at your file, see what they knew, when they knew it. There was any evidence introduced after the 2006 rating decision within a year that showed that you were disabled to the point where you couldn't work. There's a possibility that you can go back, but it's a pretty hard one. Airman F18, hello there. Question: I have 100% P&T scheduler. Am I allowed to work full time? Does VA will lower my rating if they see that I'm working full time with no problem? Does that affect my rating? You can work full time. There's no prohibition against working if you're permanent total 100%. If they see you're working and doing well, will they come after you? Unfortunately, that is a possibility. I would stay off the VA's radar, but unless your rating explicitly says you're, you know, to be 100% you can't work or something like that, then yeah, you should be able to work. Michael, I'm filing for MST PTSD. My VSO submitted someone else's combat PTSD documents, went to CMP for combat PTSD, and of course it went poorly. No decision's been made. What can I do? New CMP. Yeah, you need a new CMP. You need to write them and say, there was a misunderstanding here. I have MST, not some kind of combat related PTSD. Can you please send me to a new exam? Sorry you had to do that, Michael. That's hard. Yeah. Hard as it is, and it's worse when they screw that up. John Gold, when filing for aid and attendance, do you have to have specify SMCT on the form? I'm already 100% P&T, TBI, etc. VAH approved me for 11 hours of house nursing care. You don't have to specify. The VA has to develop the claim for you. You are not a medical professional. You can't say it's due to X or it's due to Y. You might know what it's due to. You know, it might be the TBI is that obvious, but you don't need to. That's not your burden. You need to file. Okay. The fact that you have in-house nursing care, that you're already, it looks like, well, you should be at SMCL, aid and attendance at the least. But yeah, I think you definitely need to file for this. And you know, they're denying. We're seeing this more and more. We're handling a lot more SMCT cases because the VA does not want to pay that. But in your case, if you have in-home nursing care, then yes, I think you need to file for not only aid and attendance, but then also that added aid and attendance from SMCT. Michael, I have fired that VSO. New VSO has submitted correct docs. I also submitted a written statement disputing the original CMP documents. Good. I mean, again, there are really good VSOs out there, and honestly, there are really good attorneys out there. There are really crappy VSOs, and there's really crappy attorneys. So, you know, just because you're not paying for someone doesn't mean you shouldn't vet them. Vet them, look at, you know, their background, how long they've been doing this, and all that. And I definitely think if you're going to hire an attorney, you need to thoroughly vet that person, because, you know, they're going to charge you money. They're going to try to not let you get out of a contract probably. So that's another story, but just make sure whomever you're using as a representative, somebody you don't just assume they know what they're doing. Okay, Patriot Pirate, it's been 3 years. Is it too late to appeal? 3 years is too late to appeal, unfortunately. You got to file a new supplemental claim, and you got to introduce new and relevant evidence. James L.H. How can I screw this up, James? We have the same last name. James L. Hill, Sr. I was inquiring about relating current disabilities to service without any service treatment records. Okay, so you need to get buddy statements. That's the strongest thing you can get. Okay, if it's some kind of attack or trauma, that could be documented in your service records. Like if they tried to move you really quickly afterward, or they demoted you, or, you know, something happened as far as your, you know, performance score or something like that. But buddy statements are the strongest way to show something happened in service if it's not in your service treatment records. Okay, Archangel Bright Flame, can you file criminal charges when VA representative breaks the law and not give you the amount the law requires? The law was clear in this manner. If you're talking about like somebody who works for the VA, you probably cannot, they're protected by the agency, so you can't file a claim against them. If you're talking about an attorney or an agent, it depends. I mean, yeah, you can go to your local precinct, or, you know, and see if they would press charges, but I don't know. I don't have enough info there. Let's see. Benny to Marble. For Tdiu form, what address goes in box 2? I worked for a large company in a huge HR department. Do I wait for someone to fill it out, or do I have them mail me or VA? They should mail it to the VA, whoever it is. I would put the address of the HR department, because you know that's where you want it to go. So that's my thoughts there. John Price, how often does your firm win sleep apnea appeals and overall VA claim success rate with sleep apnea? I hear it's a really tough case to win. John, VA hates sleep apnea with a passion. They hate it. I mean, I've seen so many cases that have come to me that I looked at and I say, well, I don't think I should have to. There's nothing to do here. This is a great case. This is a case that's, you know, you know, you got the medical side on what's going on now. You got great statements about what was happening to that in service, and they just hate them. That said, do we win cases? We typically don't take cases just for sleep apnea. We do take them when it's like secondary to a case we've invested in, or we've, you know, I think I've said before, we deal with a lot of toxic issues. So if like a vet has diabetes or has heart disease, sometimes those mess up the rhythm of the body and can cause sleep apnea. The other big issue we deal with is PTSD, and that's a big one that causes sleep apnea. The VA hands down denies those left and right, so we end up having to get outside exams. Do we win? Yes, we almost always win, but we have to get an exam, and those, you know, cost thousands of dollars on cases that frankly should be granted on on the face of the case, but I'll stop preaching on that. Will Johnson, how do you file a claim for Q? They don't have a Q claim form right now, so you have to file a supplemental claim, and at the top in big letters and written in purple or something, you got to say Q, C-U-E, and you got to identify what the decision, the prior decision you're attacking is. This decision in October 2010 on my prostate, or whatever it is, was wrong, and here are the reasons why. They'll probably still screw it up because the people who do the first adjudication don't know what Q claims are, so you're just be prepared to have to appeal that. Rob M. I'm service-connected tinnitus in 04 at 0%. I was recently given 10% this year. Can I retro pay and appeal 0%? Not unless you appealed that the whole time, unfortunately. Aaron Haston, for my PTSD exam under work, the examiner noted 10%, but for symptoms, I had 30 and 50 severity. Are they supposed to grant the rating for the highest severity of symptoms or just work impairment alone? For the highest severity of symptoms is what they should do it for. With PTSD, they're doing a mental health review on your diagnostic code. And frankly, whatever social problems you have with PTSD affect the work. It's one for one. If you yell at people a lot, well, it doesn't matter if that person's in your family or at work, or if you avoid people a lot, well, it doesn't matter where that person is either. So it should be whatever the higher one of those is. Archangel Bright Flame, seems to me that the VA representatives are constantly breaking laws. That is clear. That there is not any interpretation in the law. I don't think I'm not going to get into whether they break the law or not, but did they screw things up left and right? Yeah, I would not disagree with that. Mike Estes. 1, I've just been diagnosed with chronic PTSD after 15 plus years post-combat. I've been prescribed medications and have several scheduled therapy sessions in the near future. Should I wait to file or file now? File right now. Airman 18, hey there, question. I have 100% PTSD. I think we did this, Airman 18. Bill D. Goodwin, can I get a higher rating for spondylosis than 20%? That is so hard on the back. You need to look up, I think Efrain put these in here, a link to the diagnostic codes. You need to look that up. There's a 40% rating, but I think it has to be angliosed. So, it depends on your circumstance. The back is one of the worst ratings they have. They don't acknowledge how severe the pain is or the limitation is, and they give very, very low ratings, and it's very frustrating. Archangel Bright Flame, all veterans, I advise you to contact your Congress members and tell them the VA representatives are constantly breaking laws. Okay. Mike Estes. 2, will having documented therapy sessions help with my overall rating? Yes. Yes. Kiki, I filed a BDD claim and rating hasn't come back yet. My CMP examiner, an F and P for my general exam, was not good. She seemed hurried and frustrated and didn't review my record beforehand. What should I do? You need to wait and see what you don't want to say something nasty if you don't have to. So, whatever you say now is not going to change the immediate rating. You need to wait and see what the rating says. You get a copy of the CMP exam, and then from there, you'll have the information you need to really destroy her work, I guess we'll call it, on what she did. But until you have that, it'll be an uninformed statement you make. And again, I can almost guarantee you they will decide the case before they even see that. So see that first. Hopefully you're surprised to the upside. If not, request a copy of the exam and go from there. Rodney, can you see my Katoke? I'm thinking my message is not going through. Can anyone see my chat? Well, I see it, Rodney. So if I didn't see it before, please repeat your question. TB, I've been waiting a year for termination on AO exposure claim. Do I have diabetes too? Waiting a year, unfortunately, is not out of the ordinary. Is it good? No, but is it what they seem to do? Yes, unfortunately. Aaron, excuse me. Also in my case, they scheduled me for a secondary PTSD CMP exam and was able to go over my symptoms in deeper detail. Will VA view both exams and award the higher rating, or do they have to? No. They don't average the two. They should do the more accurate. And if both ratings look accurate, then they take the higher of the two, but they should not average those. Damina C, you guys helped me get PTSD granted 60%, but because of my suicide attempts and ideation, shouldn't I be at 70? You should be. And if we're not representing you now, please come back to us, because that's not complete. I think you need to be at the highest rating possible. So come back, put somewhere, if you're not with us and you do an information request, say Matt Hill told me to ask about this, and that should get to me. All right, Hulk African, is anything going on with burn pits? So burn pits are having their day right now. There are multiple bills out there. There's gaining traction. The science has not been quite published yet as far as what all should be presumptive with burn pits, but we're seeing that it's moving forward. Again, there was a question about prior legislation with Gulf War. Just because it's moving forward doesn't mean it's going to win. And a lot of these things get right up to the end only to fail because they don't get enough votes to the last second. So I'm hoping that there is. We just finished a session. Carrie Baker and I did a multi video series on Gulf War and Gulf War syndrome and mistakes the VA makes. And our next session is actually going to be on burn pits. So it probably won't be for about a month, but maybe by then we'll know more and be able to share. Bought it too, having trouble finding a private doctor to write Nexus letter. Any advice or recommendations? We typically try to go to, the vet's doc. If you go online, you can find some doctors. It just depends on the type of disability you're looking for. Mostly we work with what's called a vocational expert, but you're looking for a Nexus doctor, so that means you actually need to get somebody who has medical background to tie it to service. But if you look online, I don't have a good I don't have a good source for you right now. Timothy Certain, vacation service help. Vacational service, will vacational service help with Tdiu? I don't know what that is, Timothy. Write some more. Let me know what I'm missing there. Rob M, I'm currently 90%. Can I start a business and not have my rating affected or decreased? What are the guidelines? If you're 90%, you're fine to start a business. I tell all vets they need to keep on going and getting treatment. They need to go and make sure that they're being seen, that they're being heard. Mainly that whatever ailments they have, the problems those ailments cause are being recorded. So yeah, I mean you can definitely do that. Also, if you can't work in any other place, you could file for unemployability, because if you're starting a business, that tells me you're working for yourself, you're making the rules, and that would be considered sheltered employment. Rodney, is insomnia rated separately, or do they lump it in with PTSD? It depends. Insomnia can be a symptom of PTSD, like flashbacks can, or night terrors, and they rate that at 30%. So if you're 30% or above, then they've put that into PTSD. If there's a separate rating or a separate issue like sleep apnea, then that would be rated separately. But if the symptoms of the insomnia are only what's captured in the mental health rating, then you would not be getting anything else, because that would be considered pyramiding. Basically, you're getting two ratings off the same diagnostic code. Okay, bonded to, also do I need specifically say I'm claiming secondary service connection by aggravation instead of causation, or will VA assume both are possible? The VA has to look at all avenues. You might say that this is, you might say, I believe this is secondary to my other service-connected disability, but I don't know. But they have to look at all avenues, service connection, presumption, direct service connection, secondary, everything that's out there. Alonzo Alakan, regarding buddy statements, is it okay to get several from the same buddy on different issues? Sure is. Jason, I am not a veteran, but I do have a mental health evaluation tomorrow for SSDI. I've been a paramedic for 20 years and suffer PTSD. Okay. Well, I wish you well on that. It's those evaluations can be difficult as well. Will Johnson, regarding the Q claim, I had record correction leading to a disability retirement, so I'm guessing that it is sufficient evidence to reverse denial. Records correction. If it was corrected, If it was like a record that was never associated with your file, then you have a pretty good shot at going back. If it's a record that was corrected, I don't know. I mean, that's a very fact-specific issue. It depends on what kind of correction it was. If you put in for it to be corrected now, that's probably not going to get you back. But if the DoD corrected itself, then there could be an angle there. Miles Bennett Dyson. If you have a private medical nexus and a diagnosis for PTSD, anxiety, and depression, can you get depression and anxiety ratings secondary to PTSD? Nope, they're all thrown in. It's one diagnostic code for any mental health. So whatever the highest is, that's what you get. Daryl Lale, I got 90%, 70% is PTSD. I also submitted OSA and TMJ headaches, and all of these are secondary to PTSD. But they denied the 3. Oh, what can help me fight and get sleep apnea and the headaches and TMD approved? Okay, a lot going on there. They're secondary to PTSD. So they should have done an exam. You need to see what the exam said. If it was an exam was just done by a mental health professional, so if it was done, if you just had one exam for mental health and it was done by a psychiatrist, that is a medical doctor, okay, he can opine on all those things. But if you had one done by a therapist or a PhD or PsychD or something like that, they're not competent to talk about physical issues secondary to a mental health issue. So you can demand that you get a doctor who is an MD or a, what do they call it, an OA or O something, osteoporosis doctor or something like that. So that's what I would look. I'd look and see get a copy of the exam and see what exactly qualifications that medical examiner had. Michael, I'm currently doing my PTSD claim. I have gained weight. I have now been diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. Should I wait for the PTSD to be decided on or start the sleep apnea now? Start it now. Ream 86, I have an appeal for MTSS and MDD and IU that was recently denied. When I filed, I was only 60%, but then I was raised to 80% 9 days later. Just submitted a 4138 explaining why I should get it. Should that be good? Should be good. Looks like you've worked really hard on that claim. Will they give it to you? I don't know. But I mean, hats off to you for being proactive on your case. Now it's just wait and see and then figure out what you need to do after that. Robert Thompson, how do you file sleep apnea if you're on a CPAP? Well, you got to get it service connected. And then if you get it service connected, they give you a rating. If you're on a CPAP machine, that rating would be 50%. So you got to show how it's related to either service or secondary to a service connected disability. Sophie King, I'm rated 100% P&T. How do I apply for IU? Well, so you would apply for IU. You don't necessarily need, you most likely don't need IU unless you have one disability that is 60% or above that causes you not to be able to work. If that's true, then you can go ahead. And file from there. But if you don't have one disability causing you to be unable to work, then you just don't file for IU and you go on with your life and just don't deal with the VA. Adia, let's see, any news on Fort McClellan claims? I made a claim for my diagnosed Graves' disease due to exposure, but was denied. There is a toxic, I don't know what they're calling it, but it's a toxic issues bill right now that's being put through Congress. Lots of stuff's going through Congress. It's funny, we're talking about that right now. The Fort McClellan as a geographic location is not in the bill, but they're saying, they're talking about benzene and, what is it, TCA, TCDD. Like they're talking about a lot of these different toxins that were used locally. And if that gets through, it's going to hopefully make it easier to get service connection for certain issues related to Fort McClellan. So nothing good direct on that, but go from there. Matt, I'm frustrated to the point I need an attorney. Could you please take my case? I'd love it if you submitted your case and we had a chance to look at it. I think I've said on here quite a few times, we take very few cases right now. I feel like I'm taking fewer and fewer cases right now because my teams are overloaded. Hoping that changes in the near future. We're trying to hire another attorney or two to start different teams, but that's going to take a while. So love to look at your case. Thank you for thinking of us. But I want to let you know that we go through quite a few cases and really have narrowed down what we can take at this point. SAMG, 70% for PTSD, 100% Tdiu, currently waiting for decisions. What are the odds that I win? The doctor keeps increasing my medication and changing them. I don't know the odds. The medication changes don't really affect your rating. It would frankly just be, you just got to prove that, hey, because of this disability, rated 70%, I can't work. I can't be around people. I can't stand people tell me what to do. You need to kind of dig in on those things. So we'll see. Rob M. I was denied for TDIU in 06 when I was at 40%. I recently obtained a 90% in 2021. Can I appeal IU denied in 2006? Oh, I think, Rod, we talked about this. If the claim was final in 2006, then you can't appeal it, unfortunately. You can only go back as far as when you reopen that claim. Damina C, can you guys help me with an increase for my migraines? Currently at 30%, but I feel I should be higher due to the duration, frequency, severity I have them. Again, would love it if you submitted your paperwork, your last decision, and there's kind of a questionnaire we have, see if it's something we could help with. I think that migraines are pernicious. I mean, they're just very, VA doesn't appreciate how severe they can be. So we'd be happy to look at that. Michaela McKenzie, good morning. I just got a rating back for my anxiety. I was recently diagnosed with Meniere's disease. Should I now submit that as a new claim? Will that affect the claim? Just prove, submit it. Carl, hello. I have 73, what? I have 73,152 appeals ahead of me. Oh, I thought you were saying that those were your appeals, Carl. How long do you think it will take to get to the front of the queue? I feel like I've been waiting for years. Carl, I hear you. We wait for years on our claims with our vets, and it's very frustrating. I don't know how fast the VA is going through those. Looks like a big number. If that's at the BVA, that is a big number, and that's going to be at minimum a year, if not more. If it's at the regional office, hopefully they could do that faster because they have a lot more employees there. John checks your sleep apnea video helped me win my claim. Thank you. Wow, that's great. Thank you, John. You also say the VA doctor will not write letters if you use a private doctor for the Nexus letters. Will not write letters. Yeah, that's what we found too, unfortunately. America Patriot, I'm 80% and unemployable, but not rated for Gulf War syndrome with fibromyalgia that I have, plus recently diagnosed with sleep apnea. Whew, what should I do? Will my wife be okay if I pass away? It depends on what that 80% is for. If you got a massive heart problem, that probably would be the cause of you passing away. Fibromyalgia is not a terminal illness. I don't know the Gulf War syndrome issue that you would be rated for, so I can't speak to that. But if you're at 100% and you have a significant issue that is rated, then she should be okay. So what she would have to show, any widow would have to show, is that your service-connected disability directly caused the death or was a contributory cause. So the second one is where a lot of people win. So if you have sleep apnea and you have a heart attack and only sleep apnea is service-connected, if a doctor would say, well, because of that sleep apnea, the heart got worse, you can get service-connected there. There are a couple other ways. I can't get into all of them, but one of them is like if you've been unemployability or 100% for 10 years or more, I think they get it no matter what. All right, so Paul Peterson, client of yours, was wondering if there is a time frame or is every case different? Every case is different, Paul. With this new AMA that they put in place almost 2 years ago now, we have no idea. We used to have a pretty good idea. I mean, we had a chart of each regional office, all 56 regional offices, figuring out how long it takes for each one to turn around a claim, but now that has just all gone to the wayside, let's say that. Sam G, my son was murdered while I was deployed in Iraq. Have all evidence, even the Red Cross message sent, etc. Is this an additional stressor I can add in support to my PTSD, anxiety, and depression claim? Sam, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is awful. I appreciate you helping our country, and then while you're doing that, that happened. So I'm sorry for your loss. That is a stressor. It doesn't matter if you were there or you're halfway across the world where you were. That's a definite stressor, and honestly, that's a stressor in and of itself that should get you concession of there being a stressor, and hopefully a doctor who understands how devastating that can be. There's no geographical limitation on the devastation of loss. So I wish you well in that. John Gold. Dementia is one of the presumptive conditions for TBI. I was diagnosed with dementia in April. I filed a claim for dementia secondary to TBI. Can claims be denied on presumptive condition? The answer is they should not be, but yes, they still deny those. If you have a diagnosis of dementia, you're service-connected for TBI, that should be a slam dunk case. If they deny you, you need to keep appealing because that's just them being, that's ridiculous. Bandit 2, current law school student and disabled vet. I'm interested in this type of law. Recommendations for classes, clinics, etc. You need to look up, there's like a consortium of veteran law schools, not veteran law schools, but schools that have a veterans program. Mizzou has an excellent program. What's the place? Stetson has a very good program. I think Syracuse actually has a pretty strong program as well. And then there was one at somewhere in Virginia that I've worked with before. Lost it in my head. William and Mary. So those are ones that I know of personally. I've spoken at the one in Missouri. I really like the professor there. I think she's really strong. And so, you know, if there's a way that you could do like a video in on something, but a lot of clinics are popping up all over the country with these, looking into these issues. So looking into VA issues. So hopefully there'd be one in your school or near you. Steve-O, is being stationed in the Pacific region, i.e. Japan, Korea, or the Philippines during Operation Earnest Will, Storm, and Shield qualify a person to be classified as a Gulf War vet? No, unfortunately, you have to be in the Gulf War theater. Again, I was saying earlier, we just cut a series on Gulf War, and we actually went through the specific countries you had to be in or bodies of water you had to be in Southwest Asia. Interestingly enough, Afghanistan does not apply either. Carl, love you guys' channel. Thanks, Carl. We appreciate it. All right, and I just lost where I was. Timothy Certain, will vocational services evaluations help when TDIU? Yes, through the VA, they evaluate if you can work or not, or if you get some kind of outside consultant. Yes, that's what we actually use a lot, because there's a lot of people out there who advertise their services and they're, you know, charge $500 to $900 versus $1,500 to $4,000 on a lot of other experts. Let's see, Bill McGrath, VA said my arthritis is age-related, but had multiple complaints of neck and back at service with exit exam, noted that I had a recurring of legs. Bill, keep fighting. Screw them. This is what they try to do to get you to go away. I apologize. Probably somebody on the VA on here, but that's crap. Keep fighting. You got it noted in service. You got a current problem. You know, if you can go out and get a medical doctor to show that it's related, that's great. Otherwise, fight them and say, you know, look at the exams and see what they say on the exams versus what you know to be true, and then write a letter telling them the difference. Ray P. Lama, 1911. FYI, if you are watching, remember to hit the like button on the bottom of this live stream. Thanks, Ray. I did not solicit that from Ray, but I appreciate it. And I actually encourage that as well, because if you've noticed, I don't always start on time, and I want to make sure everybody in here gets it. All right, so let's see. Living in Mexico, they are not meeting that 365-day appeal. I'm getting the wrap sign here, so let me see if I can get new folks. Steve O, I think we've talked a couple. David Belvin, why is it harder for peacetime veterans claims to be honored than wartime veterans for PTSD? PTSD vets, wartime, they have like, there's 2 or 3 presumptions they have. If they fall in one of those, that makes it easier for, you know, besides sexual trauma, there are no presumptions or routes to make it easier for a vet who served during peacetime. 9 Tails, I had reconstructive hip surgery in service in 16, currently 30%. Since 16, I feel like my hips gotten worse. Do I need to go to the VA and schedule an appointment to be seen? That's for medical reasons. Yes. Do you need to file another appeal? Do you file a claim for increase? Yes. Anthony, VA denied me for hypertension 10 years ago, filed again, will the win go back 10 years? Not unless you've been filing appeals all the way back. Let's see, Andrew Figueroa. First time I filed, I made the mistake of adding items that should have been added to the claims portion, such as back. Should I file another claim for the portions I missed out on? Yes. Mr. Lee, my daughter, can she get benefits when I pass? If your daughter's under 18, she can, or your daughter became completely disabled under the age of 18 and is over the age 18 now. Derek Taylor, have you seen much or any veterans being awarded SMCT? Yes, we've won quite a few of those cases. We're seeing a lot more of those cases now where the VA's, they're admitting a veteran needs aid and attendance because of their TBI, but not recognizing that they should be all the way up. So we're actually seeing quite a few, and those are ones where we have to, frankly, hire pretty significant outside medical specialists because they're so complicated, and the VA does everything they can to deny them. Okay, I am at an hour. Efrain, all right, I'm going to hurry up here. Original main concepts. Can I submit supplemental claim after de novo decision, and what is the timeline for the de novo decision for the supplemental claim? You can submit one. You're going to need new and relevant. You're going to need new and relevant evidence. And the timeline I can't tell you. Sam G, thanks for being here. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you and what you've done for our country. Mr. B, I was rated under a different code for TBI. My VA psychiatrist state in the letter that my TBI, I cannot work. Is this letter enough? I'd hope that the doctor said more than just you cannot work. It's you cannot work because, and that's the most important part. Because what? So that's what needs to be in there. All right. So Mr. B, it looks like you need a new doc to say that. Okay, let me get a couple more of these. Tamekia B, I have 2 special needs children. I recently was medically retired 100% for PTT, MS, and MDD, along with secondary conditions. If something happens to me, how will my children be taken care of? If they're under the age 18, they will get what's called DIC benefits. If they are completely, unable to work, or they're completely disabled before the age 18, and that's a chronic deal, then they would get money going forward as well. So they wouldn't get your complete benefits, but they would get some benefits, which would include medical. Paul Peterson, does your firm look at things that are just like the ones that I have listed? I've learned so much more about problems that I have just from watching your videos. Try to look at all the things, just the ones I've listed. I'm sorry, Paul, I can't remember what you had above, but we look at a bunch of different claims. My goal here is not to get you as a client. My goal here is to educate you so that you can win your claim, okay? And that you have the power and the information you need to go out and to get the benefits you deserve without paying somebody like me. Okay, we're gonna do one last one. Let's see. My claim's been CNP for 3 months. Is that normal? Yes. Rod M, start a small business. I'm applying for Tdiu. Do I need to wait until? No, you don't. I mean, if the business is yours, Rod, start the claim for Tdiu and file your claim. If they say anything about it, you say, I own the business. I dictate when I'm there, what I'm doing, who I interact with, all that stuff. Okay. Last one, Brian S. Does a documented suicide attempt with panic disorder get 70%? It is 70%. If they screw it up, then you keep filing for getting you to 70%. Usually I find that that also ends up being unemployability because the instability caused by things like suicide. Folks, I will not be here for probably the next 2 weeks. I'm on vacation with my family. I'm going to ask my partners to sit in, but as someone noted, my partners are also my parents, so they do what they want, and they're used to telling me what to do. So hopefully Carol and Brian will be able to sit in. I don't quite know what their schedule is, but if we don't see it till then, it's not because I've ended it. It's just because I'm out of pocket for a while. So I hope you all have a great week and great July. And I look forward to getting back to this. And hopefully when I do, I see some folks who've won claims that they should have just by interacting here with all of us. Thanks so much.